Hello and good morning. Make sure my mic is on so I'm not talking to myself. Okay, that's good. All right. So I'm going to give you all a moment to get on and then we're going to get started. So if you're watching this recording, feel free to skip ahead to get to the content. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And let me make sure I'm working over here. Talking to myself. All right, awesome. That's working. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to share this out in a couple of places. And then we're going to get down with the get down. And get a couple more places. And then we're going to get going. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are ready to go. All right, so we're going to get going. I want to make sure that the post got there because it doesn't look like it did. So I might need to do it again. Technical difficulties, right? Okay, so that's done. Okay, great. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady. And when you tune into my show, which I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, today was ish because I have my lawn crew here and they took a little bit longer than expected. But I'm normally here at 9 o'clock. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear predominantly about tax topics as I am a tax professional, but we're going to talk about a lot of things. We talk about business and leadership and just how to do this whole thing called life better. Today's topic, penalty abatements. Okay. So if you are someone that has tax debt, or you know someone that has tax debt, this would be a great video to share with them. So make sure you share this out if you get some value. Okay, every year, right, starting at about May timeframe, people start getting letters. People who have filed their taxes and have tax liabilities that they didn't pay, they start getting letters from the IRS demanding payment. Okay, so that starts the process. And I covered that in another video. But today we're going to talk about penalty abatements and exactly what that is and who really, where it applies. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about penalties because, one of the questions I get is why are these penalties here and why are they so high? Okay. So the IRS has already answered that question. The IRS says this. Tax penalties are designed to encourage voluntary compliance by supporting the standards of behavior required by the Internal Revenue Code. So they are intended to make non-compliance, neglecting to pay and all of that more painful than paying voluntarily. Okay, so that's what the penalty is designed to do. And so what I'm going to do with today's broadcast is go over some of the most common penalties and then talk about the whole abatement process. Okay. So the first and the most common penalty is the failure to pay penalty. This happens when you have a tax liability and you don't pay it by the usual April 15th deadline. Okay. This is why you'll hear me say to file your taxes early, even if you think you're going to owe, because just because you file the paperwork, you don't have to pay anything until April 15th, but you still got to pay. Okay. You still need to file, and I'll talk about that penalty next, actually. So if you have, if you have a tax liability and you fail to pay, there is a failure to pay penalty, and that penalty is 0.5% of unpaid balance added every month or partial month it's late. Okay, the penalty will grow until it either reaches the maximum of 25% or the balance is paid. Okay. So the failure to pay penalty, again, the thing about the interest and these penalties, they accrue daily. Okay, so it matters to the day when you pay. Now, the next most common penalty is the failure to file penalty. Now, if you normally get a refund and you don't file, there is no failure to file penalty because you normally get a refund. Now, as an aside, if you are expecting a refund, you only have 3 years to file to get your refund. After that, it belongs to the United States Treasury. Okay. Now, the failure to file penalty it really kicks in if you have a tax liability. Now, the failure to file penalty is 4.5% of the unpaid tax per month. Now, the failure to file penalty is usually going to have a failure to pay penalty tacked on to it because 9 times out of 10, if you haven't filed and you owe, then you probably have not paid either. So that makes the combined penalty 5% per month. And so you think about that, the failure to file penalty is 9 times more painful, I guess, than the failure to pay penalty. So that's why I said you need to definitely file, because that failure to file penalty is 9 times greater than the failure to pay. And it maxes out at 5 months or 22.5%. Okay. So again, the interest on unpaid tax is compounded daily and it's equal to the federal short-term interest rate, and which is determined quarterly, which is generally about 3%. I think the last I saw might have been 3.71%, but it's equal to that. Okay. So those are the 2 most common penalties. There's also the failure to deposit penalty, that if you are a business and you have employment taxes that you are supposed to pay to the IRS and you don't, there's a failure to deposit penalty, but that's for businesses. We're talking about individuals right now. All right. So you get these penalties, right? And you are wanting to ask for forgiveness, essentially. A first-time abatement, which is that first-time abatement, that means it's got to be the first time you're getting in trouble with the IRS, okay? And so with that, you are asking the IRS, please forgive me, I'm really, really sorry, and I won't do it again, okay? And this is the first time I've ever been in trouble. So what are the requirements? So the requirements for the first time abatement penalty is the taxpayer must have at least 3 years clean tax history immediately prior to the year they wish to use the first time abatement. No penalties or non-compliance of any kind. That means you can't have a failure to pay penalty, a failure to file penalty, or you have filed all your taxes, which is the non-compliance of any kind. Because see, one of the things about the IRS is they're not really willing to work with you unless you have filed all of your taxes. Okay. Now, and you must be in compliance currently. So again, you have filed all your taxes. You have, if you you may have filed an extension, and you might have payment arrangements, and you have to be current on all of those things. So if you've already got some stuff working with the IRS, and then you get and you request a penalty abatement, you're going to have to make sure that you are in good standing with everything before you submit for an abatement, because otherwise you won't get it. Now, there are different reasons where people will ask for an abatement. One of the reasons is called a reasonable cause. And that is that a taxpayer's got a really, really good reason to not have file their taxes. And the thing about a reasonable cause is that it can be really complex. There can be a lot of stuff going on. So, I'm going to talk about that, but it's not really quantified the same way as a first-time abatement, because there can be some mitigating circumstances that you really have to share with the IRS, but you also got to be able to prove those things. Okay. So let's talk about one of the things, death or serious illness or something like that. Okay. Now, these things only apply to you, the taxpayer, your immediate family, which is your spouse, children, parents, or grandparents or grandchildren. Okay. It does not apply to aunties, uncles, cousins, and all of that stuff. Okay. So when you look at that as a reasonable cause, you've got to be able to show the hardship. So in the case of death, you might have had to pay for funeral expenses for which you had no insurance. Funeral expenses can be very expensive. Okay. You might have a serious illness that causes you to have to pay out a lot of money you were not expecting to pay, and may not be covered by insurance, because the way that things are going right now, we don't know what our insurance is going to look like, right? Or absence of some reason. So you really got to be able to show the hardship of paying your taxes where that you did not pay them. Now, I also talked about another form I think it's form 1173. Let me make sure, and so I don't lie to you. Sorry, 1127. Told you, got all these form numbers. All right. Now, when you file your taxes, if you know that you might have some of this stuff coming up, you can file this form 1127. It's not an automatic thing, but you can request a 6-month extension to pay your taxes, and there is no penalty. Interest will still accrue, but there will be no failure to file and no failure to pay penalties, which is important. So if you find out in February that you've got this tax liability and you've got something going on right now in your life that you really cannot pay this, then you can submit this form 1127 along with supporting documentation that supports the hardship, and you can request a 6-month extension. Another reasonable cause thing might be a natural disaster. Okay. So, what was it? Last year we had a huge snowstorm in the Northeast, and it shut everything down, and it was right around tax season. Well, then the IRS extended filing time for people in certain areas. So, with major disasters and stuff, the IRS probably already knows, but just in case, you really got to show that, you tried to file, but this kept you from filing for whatever reason. Okay. So if your whole area is flooded and your whole area has no electricity, then nobody's filing anything. Okay. Because there's, the electronic filing is, there is no electronic filing because it requires electricity. So you think about, tornadoes happen in certain areas, hurricanes, all of this stuff. These types of things are reasonable cause if they happen during the tax season to delay you in filing your taxes. Okay. Now, with the financial hardships, the thing about the financial hardship and, all of these things is that it's really got to be a hardship and not just an inconvenience. And this is where some people can kind of get in trouble, because what that means is that a hardship is, this is something that's going to be financially devastating to me. And you're going to have to prove that. You're going to have bank statements, bills, whatever, to be able to substantiate this. You getting ready to go on vacation is not, a reason for you to not pay your taxes. That is an inconvenience. That is not a hardship. Okay. You just bought a boat is an inconvenience, not a hardship. So you've got to really be able to show a hardship. And with the penalty abatements, you've got to keep your nose clean. So let's say, for instance, you decide that you want to go backpacking in the Himalayas or something. Okay. You want to go climb Mount Everest or, around the tax time, and you just completely flake out about your taxes. Okay, great. If you've kept your nose clean this whole time, you filed all of your taxes and everything, and if you have a tax liability, you go boom, write that check, then you can submit for a first-time penalty abatement because you've done everything right, and this is the first time that, you really screwed this up, okay? So that's something that the IRS will take into consideration. But if you have chronically not filed your taxes and you have consistently not filed, not paid, and all this stuff, and you're continually just ignoring the IRS, they're not going to be really down for a first time abatement. So you really got to make sure that you are compliant in what you're doing. And you say, okay, listen, this sounds like too much. Okay. Listen, I totally get that it sounds like too much. And that's why, if you have something like this, I encourage you to book a consultation with me. And let me put that in here. Let me type this down. So if you have unpaid tax debt, book a consult. There we go. Okay, so that's in the comments, to book a consult, because what this consult is designed to do is to determine, how I can help you, if I can help you, and what your next steps might be. It's not something where you sit here and ask me a bunch of questions about what to do, and then you go off and have somebody do that. Do the work. No, that's not going to work out. But that's what the consultation with me is for you to decide whether or not you and I are going to work together and how I can help you. That's what it's for. Okay. So listen, if you have any questions though about abatements and what it's for, and if you missed something, feel free to reach out to me. And if I didn't explain something clearly, because when you're doing these things live, you really don't know. You don't know right away. So feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to help you out. Okay. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Again, make sure you subscribe. And if this helped you out, make sure you leave a comment and let me know. I appreciate it. All right. Have a fantastic day. Bye.